You should now have the design that you want to make. It might be quite simple like this one, it might be quite complicated, but the program you're going to use to make it in is Adobe Illustrator. So the AI is Adobe Illustrator. We need to start a new file, so File and New, and then I'm going to call this my initials logo. Got a name, and I want it to be A4, and I want it to be landscape. So switch from portrait to landscape. So that should give me a piece of A4 landscape white paper. If I go back to my design, see my original design was drawn on graph paper, and having squares on the paper is really useful. So I'm going to put some onto this page as well. And I can do that by going to View, and I can ask it to show the grid, and if I want to I can ask it to snap to the grid. So normally if I draw on a square I can draw anywhere I want on this screen, so that's sort of starting not on where the lines, where the crosses of the grid meet. So I go Edit and undo the rectangle, and I go View and Snap to Grid. Now see, it jumps, it'll only let me put lines exactly on the grid lines. So that's Snap to Grid. So I'm just going to edit and do for a second. If I don't like the colour of the grid or the scale of the grid or anything like that, I can go to Edit and Preferences and onto the grid and guidelines. So I might prefer a slightly darker colour. So I might think, well actually that's a bit too pale, that grey, I'd like something a bit darker. I might want to put, so I've got a grid line every 10 millimeters or 1 centimeter, but I've only got one subdivision. I haven't sort of chopped it down into smaller pieces, which for my design is fine. But for your design it might mean that you need smaller subdivisions. If I were to put 10 in there, essentially it'd be 10 millimeters with a little subdivision every millimeter. So you can see if I zoom in on that, use Control plus, there's basically now, instead of being jumping in centimeters, if I put the rectangle in, it's now jumping in 1 millimeter chunks. So I've actually got a grid of 1 millimeter. So I can set the design for whatever I want it to be. Undo the rectangle, and in my case Edit Preferences, Grids and Guides. I just want 1. Mine is in solid centimeters. If I control, I can zoom out. So what I want to do first is I want to actually start using lines to define the shape. Now the simplest, easiest way to do this is to try as much as you can to avoid the line tool and use the shapes to make what you want. So I'm going to start with a rectangle, and I know that my block lines are about 5 centimeters wide, and I want to put another line here. That should be 5 centimeters wide. I can go back to my design and see that should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 centimeters wide, and this one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I need to narrow that up by 1. So I've just accidentally drawn a circle, rectangle. Let's click onto that tool, and I'll move it back by 1. And again I can do the same thing with the height. Should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Because on the design it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So I need to make sure that what I make matches my design, because that's what I'm doing, is I'm making my actual design. Go back to here, and I should have a second section which is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 centimeters long. So I'm going to draw that in with a rectangle, and the gap between the two is 1 centimeter. So that should be 1 and then that should then be 14. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Up here I want the same shape, and again I've got a gap of 1 and it goes as far along, so it should go along to there, and that should also be 5, which is there. And initially I want to put this piece on here, but actually that should be made up from curves, and I know that my curves are circles of 5 centimeters. So from here if I draw that to there, and from here I draw that to there, those are based on 5 centimeter circles. Okay, if I look into there, that looks about right. And obviously in here I need to do the same thing. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that puts that to there. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's going to go to there. Oops. I need to move that back by 1. So I've drawn my basic shape out. All of the lines are here somewhere, but there's lots of other bits of shapes I don't really want. So I need to decide what to do with those. And actually, if I look at those corner pieces, I don't think those are big enough. I think that needs to be bigger. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's more like it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've got quite a mess going on here, which I need to sort of sort out and try and get the actual shapes that I want out of it. Okay, so next is to take all of the lines and reduce them down to just the lines that I need to actually make the shape.